I have a tool for you. This is a book that I got. It's called 101 Things I Learned in Architecture School. It's really, really good for architecture students. Okay, so you're an architecture student, or maybe you just got accepted into architecture school for the very first time and you have a studio class coming up and you're actually going to have to create and design a building and present it to the world. You have to show it to your professors and your peers, walk people through it, and kind of explain why it's great. You have to be able to rationalize your project. This thing that came from nothing, an idea in your mind, and then you put it on paper or screen or whatever it is. It's a very intimidating place to be, right? There's a lot of stuff and decisions and different ideas that get tossed around in this space, in this architecture studio space. So there's the building itself, but there's also how you present the building. That's a whole other level when it comes to architecture projects, especially in architecture school. And you have to be able to convey that building that you've designed, that you can see clearly in your mind, but others can't until you show them. So how do you do that? Well, it could be through floor plans and sections. Maybe you draw them by hand, or maybe you're drawing them on AutoCAD. Maybe you're using artificial intelligence for renderings, or maybe you're using physical models. You're actually building things in the real world and showing people this is what it looks like. Maybe you're using virtual reality or something crazy. I don't know. But like I said, there's a lot of stuff going on. You have to make a ton of decisions, and then you have to be able to explain those decisions. And sometimes the design thinking for your project can just be overwhelming. There's a lot going on in terms of the design and how you convey that design. So how do you do that? Well, I have a tool for you. This is a book that I got. It's called 101 Things I Learned in Architecture School. It's really, really good for architecture students, especially young architecture students, I think. I actually got this copy when I left my first job, my first real architecture job. They gave me this as a gift. So I didn't have this as a student, and it's too bad. I could have really used it. It would have been helpful. And it's simple. There's 101 different concepts and ideas in here. Some of them are really simple and short. And some of them are a little more complex, and it can be things from like explaining a floor plan and how you arrange it, the space internally with columns. It can be drawing conventions and how to actually show things on paper and how you actually draw your buildings and your floor plans and your sections. So you have to think about all those things, and that's kind of what this book does. It walks you through a ton of really, not necessarily simple concepts, but it does a good job of kind of distilling these ideas down that can be really complicated and sort of tough to think about. It's a ton of these different concepts that relate to architecture school and architecture projects and design thinking, design processes. So I'd highly recommend it. It's by a guy named Matthew Frederick. And even on the back it says, this is a book that students of architecture will want to keep in the studio and their backpacks. And I totally agree. If you keep this on your desk, or if you read through it maybe once, kind of prior to every studio project, you might have 3 or 4 or 6 projects in a year, something like that. If you read this before each project, I guarantee your projects will be better. So highly recommend it. It's worth checking out. I'll put a link in the description down below if you want to get a copy for yourself. And it's super useful. I wish I had a copy when I was in school. So hopefully it helps your projects. Good luck.